Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I've got this clean and simple baby card for you featuring products from Waffle Flower. We are celebrating the March release today and I made this cute little baby card for a friend. Here is a look at the stamp set, and on the back I've got all of the coordinating dies. I've got some black Copic friendly ink and my Misti. I am stamping out one of these larger images with kind of the baby in the middle and the greeting around it, kind of like a wreath almost with some of these florals. And I'm using Gina AMALGAM black ink, and this is a Copic friendly ink, and I am stamping it onto some Nina 110 pound cardstock, which is also Copic friendly. I stamped that down once and it's not nearly as dark as I would like it to be, so I go in and stamp it a second time. This is obviously the beauty of the Misti, that you can keep going back and stamping the same image repeatedly and until you get it the way that you want it and the cardstock stays in place. I'm just using my sweatshirt sleeve kind of to create some pressure and allow my hand to glide over that image a little easier. There's still a spot that I don't think is quite black enough, so I keep going back and trying to just press down again, but really it just needs more ink. So I go in and stamp it down a third time, and I do set this panel aside so that it can completely dry so that I don't smear it with my markers. So once I've got that as black as I want it, I will move on to the Copic coloring. Here is a look at the colors of markers that I'm going to use. I've zoomed in a little bit so you can see this coloring a little bit better. I'm using the R85 marker along the little swaddle. I made this card for a friend who is having a little girl, and when I'm doing this voiceover, I actually just went to her baby shower yesterday and she loved this card. I feel like that's the best feeling when you give somebody one of your cards and they just love it. She was like, "This is so beautiful, I want to frame it." I mean, just there's nothing better than that. If you make cards, you totally know that feeling. I'm using R85, R83, and R81 for the swaddle. That is my favorite kind of baby pink combination. You can see I go a little bit outside of the lines on that swaddle. My pinks just bled a little bit, and so I will eventually clean that up with a colorless blender. I'm using YG17 and YG13 on all of these leaves. Some of these leaves are really, really small, and so I just colored them completely with the YG17. And some of them allow for a little bit of blending. Obviously, these are really, really small, and so for me, a 3-color blend just really isn't worth it, even on the ones that are a little bit larger. 2 colors works just fine, and you can still see enough contrast to make it worth your while. So I'm just going in and doing my darker shade first, and then I will go in with the lighter shade. I do forget about a couple of these, but I do go back in and fix these. So now I'm going in with that lighter green. This YG17 and YG13 has been my green combo of choice lately, especially for floral cards. And as we move into spring, I just want to use brighter colors, and these are some really pretty bright green markers. Sometimes I have a hard time finding green combinations that I like. So if you have any really good green Copic color combos, leave them down in the comments below for me. I would really, really appreciate some help on finding some new combos. So now that I've got my greens done, I'm just going back in and finding all of the leaves that I missed the first time around. Here is where I get that colorless blender. So I've let those pink colors dry, and I'm just using that colorless blender to kind of erase what has bled outside of the area that I want to color. I will have to go back in a second time. It seems like pinks and reds bleed and then they just keep on bleeding, if you know what I mean. They just keep on going. I am coloring the baby's little face with E51 and E50. And then I move on to the birds. So I use BG02 and BG000 for these little birds. I tried to stay all kind of light pastel tones, and I thought these little birds in a teal blue would be really fun. Now the only thing that I have left to color are these flowers, and I'm using light colored Ys. So Y4, Y02, and then I think Y00. I am going back again with just a little bit more colorless blender. In the end, I cannot get this completely cleaned up, but I am going to die cut this, and so you really can't see. Here is the die that cuts out all of these little images. Waffle Flower has been really good lately about if they release a set that has a lot of little stamps, they'll combine them together so you can die cut them all in one pass with one die, and you're not spending so much time lining up all of the little individual dies. I'm now going to move on to the card assembly. So I've got my scoring board here and my Teflon bone folder, and I'm just creasing this cardstock so it will be 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 once folded, and just using my bone folder to reinforce that fold. In order to build my card, I like to tape my card base closed, and I do that by using a little bit of purple tape. I kind of just fold it over onto itself and tape it down so that the card doesn't flap up like you can currently see that it's doing right now. So just adding a little bit of purple tape to these, and then I fold it closed. Now I can move on to my assembly. So I've got all of my little pieces that I have die cut out. The little baby and the birds, and the larger wreath pieces and the sentiments. So just getting all of those pulled out, and then I will be keeping the negative piece of this die cut because I want to use it to line up these images. You can totally use these images and lay them out differently than they are laid out in the stamp once you die cut them, but I really liked the way that they were arranged and wanted to just use them like that and set them up exactly the same. So here's that negative piece. I'm going to take it up and line it up so that it's in the middle of my card. And then you can see I'll be able to paper piece these back in. It's basically doing die cut inlay. So I'm just seeing how that is going to line up and where they are going to go. And then I will be bringing out some foam tape. I like to use Scotch foam tape. I've got this humongous roll, and I am just going to be taking little bits and slivers and cutting this up into a million little pieces so that I can use the foam tape on the back of these really small images and have them pop up. So you'll see I'm taking the little baby girl and some pieces of foam tape. Whenever I have like little extra bits, I just stick it to the side of the roll. I think I saw Kathy Zolski do that, and that's why I've been doing it, but it really, really works. And then I've got little pre-cut pieces sometimes. So taking a little piece, putting it on the back of the baby's head. I use a lot of foam tape because I really want those images to be supported. And then once I've got the backing pieces off of that, I realized that I should tape down this piece so that it can stay in the same place while I'm taping down these images. So I just take a piece of purple tape and tape together the negative die cut to my card base. I am just going to then paper piece in this little baby. You can see I've got this frame off screen. I ink blended a frame because I thought that I would use it on the card. You'll see in the end that I decide not to use it. So I'm just lining up and making sure that it is straight, because if the first piece is off kilter, a little wonky, then the rest of the pieces aren't going to look right when I pull off this negative piece. I want everything to remain centered. So once I get one piece on for the sake of time, I tape the rest of these off camera so that you don't have to watch me cut little tiny pieces of foam tape. But here I am adding that last piece down. And once that is glued down, I need to remove that negative piece. So I start by removing the purple tape. And then really gently, I just kind of wiggle this negative piece from the die cut and kind of shimmy it around the images so that I don't pull them off, but I pull off the white backing. So once I get this whole little panel pulled off, that really completes my card. You'll see I pull in this oxide ink blended panel that I thought I wanted to use as a frame, but in the end, I always feel like clean and simple for me wins out. A plain white background is sometimes so beautiful and striking, and it really made my images pop here, so I left it. Thank you so much for watching this. I hope that you enjoyed watching this video. If you did, please subscribe so you can see more from me. On the screen now are a few more videos that you might like to watch from me, and I will catch you in the next one. Thank you so much.